Hello class. This video is to catch you up in case you took a snow day on Wednesday, February 5th. I want to talk about putting supply and demand together. So we have previously seen them in isolation, but now at the end of chapter 3 we're going to put them together. They're very important to combine these concepts because Alfred Marshall noted that arguing about whether supply or demand determines price is just like arguing whether it's the top or the bottom blade of a pair of scissors that cuts the paper. The idea is that you need both of them. Alright, so we're going to talk about a pretty important concept called market equilibrium, also known as market clearing. And it's a price where quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. So that's really cool because there's just enough stuff being produced that everybody who wants some gets some, there's none left over of the stuff, and there aren't any people who want stuff who can't get it. And it's going to be really easy to see on a graph. It's where the supply and demand curves intersect. So what I want to do is just draw out this market equilibrium for you. And remember when we drew the demand curve, we had price on this axis and quantity on this axis. Well, the same was true for supply. So now we can draw both supply and demand on the same set of axes. So here's our supply curve. Here is our demand curve. And the really cool part is that right here at this point, where those two curves cross, is our market equilibrium point. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to label this Q star. Alright, often we'll use a star to denote that equilibrium. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to label this P star. Okay, so that is what it looks like on a graph. All you have to do is find where those two curves cross. That point is your market equilibrium point. We could also represent this information on a table. Okay, so you'll notice that this column right here is the price, and this column is the quantity supplied. So if we combine columns 1 and 2, we have a supply schedule. But check out column 3 is quantity demanded. It goes with price. So if we just look at columns 1 and 3, then that gives us a demand schedule. And these things are behaving just like we would expect. As the price goes up, quantity supplied is going up from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And as the price increases, quantity demanded decreases. So we go from 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So the market equilibrium is right here highlighted, this row of 3, where we have the quantity supplied equal to the quantity demanded at that price. What happens if the price is higher? So let's take a look here at 5. Sorry about that. At $5, producers are willing to make 10 million units, but people only want to buy 2 million units. So there are 8 million leftover units that people don't want to buy, but are being produced. We call that excess quantity supplied. It's also referred to as a surplus. Down at a lower price, say $1, we have producers only willing to make 2 million units, but people want to buy 10. So there are 8 million people who want one of these things, and they can't get it. We call that excess quantity demanded, or a shortage. Now this graph shows you the exact same thing as the previous table did. Note that here at a price of 3, we have a quantity of 6 million, and that is our equilibrium point where these supply and demand curves cross. Also note that we can look at a case where, let's just go up to $5 here. Alright, so if we look at $5, this is a point on the demand curve. If we come down here at $5, we can see that 2 is our quantity demanded. And at $5, we come over across here to the supply curve, and we come down to the axis, and we find that 10 million is the quantity supplied. So supply the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded, and we have excess quantity supplied. This is also called a surplus. I will let you look at this down here. If we just had the price set at $1, this is on the supply curve. If we go down here, the quantity supplied is now 2 million. And if we go over to the demand curve, at $1, the quantity demanded, go down here, is 10 million. So in this case, we have excess quantity demanded, and that is also called a shortage.